So, if you are someone who didn't vote or did not vote for Kamala Harris, and you consider yourself to be a radical person who cares about public health, who cares about a happier, healthier, more equitable future for all beings, then you have probably been put in a position where the internet and scrolling and the algorithms and the forces and powers that be that have control through algorithmic content are changing your behaviors. Because if you would have voted Democrat, but then since you've been online, you're now realizing all these things that are changing that, what you have to understand, what you can choose to understand, is that nuance and subtlety of the current paradigm is not something that has room to exist online. The physical reality is still important. If you are someone who did not vote, especially a liberal person who did not vote and who voted for the other side, that's not Kamala in this election, your behaviors have been changed. This is a litmus test. This is a data point. I voted, and I voted for the Democrats because I understand that the federal government isn't the helpful, perfect, radical organizing body that we want it to be, but I still want the lesser of two evils to be in government because it's still less evil. So if you changed your whole paradigm, then you have been targeted by internet forces. Internet forces could be things like what we found out impacted the 2016 election when Trump first won, Russian governmental agencies. This is not conspiracy. The way that algorithms work and the amount of people who benefit from you, a consumer, losing your agency, losing your ability to make choices that are beneficial for yourself and others. The amount of people that benefit is large, is substantial, is enough to motivate all of the moving puzzle pieces of how the algorithm changes our beliefs and behaviors to make enough change that you then didn't vote or voted for the other side. I highly recommend watching the film The Social Dilemma. The Social Dilemma was a documentary style film. It was a documentary that did interviews with people who used to work at some of these tech companies, especially former executives. They did a dramatized kind of example of how the content is chosen and the impacts of that. What most people don't understand right now about how scrolling specifically and online communities based on scrolling specifically impact their brain is most people don't understand the depths of neurology, and most people don't understand the depths of how the algorithm is working. And most people don't understand, especially young people, and yes, there's a difference, because if you're younger, you've had less time to experience reality in a human form. You have had less years to experience human reality in a human form. That's real. That's data. And what most people don't understand is the brain, the algorithm, and the magnitudes within reality of there are bad people, and this is not supposed to be scary. This is getting the data that if you didn't vote, or if you voted for the other side and you traditionally would have voted more liberal, your brain has been infiltrated by scrolling, by internet content. So what you get to do now is you get to take action to start to figure out how and why and where to deprogram yourself and cure your phone addiction. When I say phone addiction, I mean scrolling addiction. Calling family and friends is valid. All these other things where you get to select, where you click, where you're choosing where you're going next, fine. YouTube is okay if you're choosing where you're going next. Some of the algorithms are less dangerous, but truly understanding the level of vulnerability intrinsic to how the human brain works at a basic level. Understanding that is crucial to living a healthy life and to participating in a collaborative reality. Because human beings, Homo sapiens, are the hominoid species that survived the greatest. That's us. All humans all around the world are Homo sapiens, right? That species survived because we're a more pro-social, friendlier species naturally. So all of the divisions that are being created for the benefit of some small groups, mostly people who want you to buy stuff or lose your power or lose your agency as a human, mostly people who want permission and ability to do whatever they want, the level of lacking pro-social behavior that's being pushed by the internet, by algorithmic content, by especially scrolling. Because scrolling is the moment where you go to the next piece of information without choosing what it will be. And algorithms are not intrinsically negative. They could have helped us, but the people choosing what direction the algorithms will take you are people who are invested in you losing your power. So if you are someone, I will repeat this, if you are someone, for the last time, please know, if you're someone who would have voted liberally, who didn't vote, or who voted for the other side in this election, your brain has been infiltrated by scrolling. Don't worry, don't panic, but understand that information of your behavior will change because of being online as a piece of data. Because awareness, I want you to really, this is crucial for everyone. Awareness, knowing what is different, what has changed, awareness of what's going on is the first step to any positive change. So just knowing that it's a bad sign that your behavior deviated so strongly due to being online, that it's a sign that you need to reclaim your agency and your control and your ability to see reality for what it is, your ability to understand the nuances and subtleties of reality, reclaim that. And if you're young and you haven't lived in reality yet without algorithmic indoctrination, in any various direction, because there are a lot of directions, but understanding the discrepancy between what you would have done before algorithmic indoctrination and what you're doing within algorithmic indoctrination is an important piece of building awareness to make a healthier life, to be more collaborative, to be more pro-social, to participate in a way that is healthy for all beings. Because remember, not everyone thinks that way. The system isn't set up that way. And it's totally possible. Optimism is crucial. So, you got the message. If you know someone who's in that situation, who didn't vote or who abstained or who voted for the other side this election due to being online, just know that that is a person whose behaviors and belief systems have been actively tampered with by outside forces of people who are invested in them losing their power. Because taking away, making someone forfeit their voting power is an intrinsically insidious act. The federal government isn't this like epic, amazing thing. It is a basic human right to be able to, even if you don't believe in the system, knowing that your vote is still relevant is something that we used to understand better before the internet. And by the way, anything you're being convinced of by scrolling, by algorithmic content, is probably not in your best interest or in the best interest of the larger group. Because that doesn't benefit the algorithm to have you believe beneficial things. And it's not the algorithm's fault. Again, it's the people who want better consumers. It's the people who want more disempowered citizens. It's the people who want you to feel confused and a loss of sense of your mental health and mental stability and sense of self. Because humans are naturally, and this is the last time I'll say this, but I'll say it again, a pro-social species. Humans are Homo sapiens survived and thrived and are the hominoid species that is one global species with consciousness because we are a collectively oriented, pro-social, friendly species. And that's what the internet is taking away. So, awareness that you have been targeted by hyper-divisive internet content, by content that will take away your human rights, your basic rights, that will destabilize you, that will take away your autonomy, your agency, your ability to show up for your community. If your ability to show up for your community has been taken away by being online chronically, by specifically scrolling, remember, and this is the last time I'll say it, but I'll say this one again too, awareness is the first step in positive change. So you being aware of this is the first step forward in positive change, to reclaim your sense of self, to be friendly, to be pro-social, to show up for yourself and your community, to release the confusion and let it go, and get back into your body and into your physical reality, into your healthy spirituality, into your healthy sense of self, into being connected with yourself and the world, into being a community member, taking your civic duty seriously, taking your life seriously, understanding the responsibility of being a human at this time, and understanding that being an internet human isn't as beneficial as they want to sell it to be. So pay attention. Because, and I said I'd say it the last time, but awareness is the first step. If you get those data points, if you build a case, okay, this is what I'm noticing that I'm doing differently because of being online. If you build that case, you can start to remove those roadblocks that the internet is handing you to you showing up as your fullest, most participatory, most loving, most alert, most spiritually grounded, most honest self in a healthy way. Healthiness and collaboration are really good metrics. Stay focused. Get off your phone. If you're on your phone, don't scroll. Only go to things where you can click. Choose what you're going to see next. Scrolling is the worst part, because it gives an algorithm that is based on consumption, that is based on advertisements, and making you a good consumer, making you a disempowered citizen and a good consumer. That's what the algorithm's based on. It's going to show you what will support its goal. The algorithm's goal is not aligned with a pro-social human goal. The algorithm's goal is aligned with the interests of the people controlling the algorithm. The algorithm's goal, when it rapidly shows you new content, is not going to be aligned with your life goals. Being dissociated and sad is not as productive as the algorithm wants you to believe. And by the way, the algorithm could have been good. It's not. It's like GMOs. It's not intrinsically bad. It's the way that the corporations are using it and directing its development that is profoundly harmful. They will take advertising dollars from anyone, for the most part, unless they're regulated, which they will be less regulated under under this next government, if he wins, which I hope he won't, but it looks like he is is about to. So receive this message. This is the summary. I'm not going to repeat it, but this is the summary. If you are someone who would have voted liberal and you didn't vote, you abstained, or you voted Republican this election randomly because of things you saw online, your brain has been infiltrated by internet forces in a way that is not pro-social, not collaborative, and disempowering for you. Point blank, period. And people aren't going to be talking about. I think people will start to talk about this. This is like the forefront, but take the message seriously. Find your re-empowerment to be a better person, to show up better, to be a part of your community, to trust yourself, to learn who you are again. That is not going to happen online, especially not scrolling. You can click and research. We have to start having room for more nuance, because that's part of the problem. Oh, it's all bad. No, you can research online, but the second you let an algorithm, a computer program decide what you'll see next, that's when you're being programmed. And the people doing the programming are not people who have your best interests at heart. That's why it's having a negative impact. Who do you think chose for you to see that content that convinced you not to vote? It wasn't you. It wasn't your family. It wasn't your neighborhood community. It wasn't like the most loving radical organizers. They're in the content, but they didn't choose what you're going to see next. They didn't choose the process of your programming. It's tech executives. And those same tech executives, a lot of them donated supporting Trump. Pay attention. Now's the time to wake up, gather the data points. It's time to wake up and start to figure out how you're going to break yourself out of the new matrix. The goal is to be healthy, participate healthily in your community and beyond, to see the truth, not the subjective truth, but get further and closer to the truth, to leave room for nuance. You can click, you can Google, but the second you start scrolling, you're handing your brain over to tech executives. Okay? Take your brain back. Awareness is the first step to positive change. I hope this video deeply helps you and heals your soul and allows you to see what's been going on. So now you have the data to make healthier choices. I trust in your process. Don't be discouraged. It's a positive thing to be re-empowered.